Oh, something's wrong with my camera. 1 second. My camera keeps flicking on and off. Sorry, TikTok. Just trying to deal with some camera stuff and YouTube. Okay, camera's there. Is it going to stay there? I think we're okay. Right. Sit down a bit. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Nope, our camera's no good. Right, I'm going to close down the stream and work out what the hell's going on. Sorry about that. But having some kind of issue. Okay, camera's here. It's not the VPN. Speed is fine. Okay, camera seems to be okay now. It's not going anywhere. Let me... I think we've got a conflict between the two streaming studios, which makes sense. It's quite a lot of processing power. Okay, that's back again. Let's see if we disappear on Google now. YouTube. Seem to be okay. I wonder if it's like a... It could be a memory thing. Let me check my system storage, because I record all of this like 4K video onto the computer. I run out of space quite a lot. 174 gigabytes available, so it shouldn't be that. Okay, I'm just going to go live again and see if that works. Otherwise, I will kill, I guess, TikTok, because we need the YouTube video. Right, sorry TikTok, I'm back. Something's going wrong with the video, but I think we're okay now. We'll have to check it afterwards. Oh god. Right, let's kick off and do what we can. Good morning, everybody. It is the 1st of December. This is AI with Kyle. I'm going to be running through the latest AI news and updates from the day. Relatively quiet day today. So I'm going to be delving into, oh gosh, this is a big one. What is AI? There's a lot of confusion about what exactly artificial intelligence is, generally caused by the difference between artificial intelligence and machine learning and deep learning, and also between AI and its different flavors. So we have narrow intelligence, general intelligence, and super intelligence, and there's a lot of confusion out there. And I wanted to cover some of the debates I've seen on Twitter over the weekend from some very smart people and some not so smart people, let's put it that way. So I wanted to clear it up so that you guys know exactly what to say when somebody says to you, well, that's not actually AI. ChatGPT is not actually AI, which I hear an awful lot. So we'll be covering that. But first, let's jump in and have a look at adverts. It looks like they are coming to ChatGPT, surprising nobody. Well, actually, I tell a lie. A lot of people seem to be surprised and annoyed about this. If you've been watching my shows or reading anything that I write, I've been going on about this for ages. Like, well, yeah, of course they're going to add adverts. It's the only way they're going to make any money. And they are. We have got a leak. This is in the Android app beta, which has a couple of references to ad features. So they have, inside of the code, people have managed to find things like ads, debug info, ad target type, API ads debug info, API bazaar content wrapper. Interesting. So some kind of shop, maybe? Or a way to transact directly within the application, which would be interesting because they have integrations with things like Shopify, but this would be cutting past that. Or integrating Shopify. I don't know. API search ad, API search ads carousel, so being able to show you multiple images. Bizarre content wrapper, encoded ad data, search ad, and search ads carousel. So it looks like a couple of different ad types. So search ad will be when it, well, this is speculation, but presumably when you search for something like a toaster, for example, it will often go to Google and pull information about some best toasters right now. But this might overlay ChatGPT ads over the top of that. API ad, this is interesting. I imagine this, I'm not actually sure what this would be, because it's not going to be when we use the API to build our own software. They wouldn't dare shove adverts into our software, I assume, unless they have some kind of display network like Google. So Google allow you to show banner ads, which are served up by Google, but they sit on your website. Could be something like that. I imagine, though, this is just API, as in way of connecting various parts of this ecosystem. So I don't think it's adding ads into our ChatGPT driven applications. That'd be very interesting. And then this bizarre content wrapper and the API bizarre content wrapper here. Some kind of shop, maybe. Or this is just a code name for some kind of functionality, some kind of feature. But it looks like we are getting ads for sure. Probably next year, because we're reaching the end of the year now, unless they release it during the 12 days of Shipmas, which is coming up. So OpenAI last year did 12 days of Christmas, 12 days of Hanukkah, basically, where they released a number of features over 12 days. They could be doing something similar here. This would be a wild one to release as a, hey, congratulations, we've got something cool for you. It's adverts, but we will see. So some more context. OpenAI has imported approximately 630 former Meta employees, so Facebook, Instagram, representing about 20% of its roughly 3,000 staff, according to LinkedIn. So the reason why you'd want to bring in lots of Meta people is not necessarily because they're engineers, but because Meta is an advertising platform. I imagine they have some Google employees too. Meta, Google, a lot of the big tech companies out there are primarily advert companies. That is how they make their money. There's this table that I'm always bringing up of Google. So Google last year, about 60% of the revenues came from Google search, about 10% came from YouTube ads. So about 60-70% of their money is directly from advertising. Google are an advertising company. That is what they do. They have some other things. They have Google Cloud, so infrastructure, that's about 10%, and other, that's subscriptions, workspace, etc., etc. But they are primarily an advertising company. Exactly the same goes for Facebook and Instagram, and all of the big social media platforms are advertising companies first and foremost. What ChatGPT now has is an audience. They have eyeballs, and they have a lot of free eyeballs, people who are not paying for a subscription. So what we're probably going to see is the free accounts will be shown adverts. That makes a lot of sense to me. Whereas if you have a paid account, $20, $200 a month, I imagine that will remove or at least reduce the number of adverts that you get. That would be my speculation here. We will find out very shortly, because it looks like this is happening soon. But this is how they monetize. People keep asking, well, how are you going to make all your money using subscriptions? There's no way you're going to be able to pay your data center bills and your electricity bills. This is how. It's not about subscriptions. It's about advertising. And it's about competing with Google and competing with Meta as an advertising platform. Interesting to see that ChatGPT or OpenAI are going to be potentially pushing this first. I've always said that they're probably all waiting for one another to pull the trigger, and then all of the companies will jump in and do this. So as soon as ChatGPT go ahead and push this, I imagine Gemini, the route will now be open for Google to start moving their search business into Gemini. However, Gemini doesn't yet have the market penetration that OpenAI has. So what they'll have to do is probably do it in the AI overviews at the top of their Google search as they transition from search over to generative AI. But it is here, it is coming, and we should be seeing adverts, I imagine, early next year inside of ChatGPT, which I know is going to upset a lot of people, but this is how they make money. This has always been in the game plan. They're not going to make their money from $20 subscriptions. Not at all. Good morning, Selena. Okay, I think we're doing. Okay, so that's probably the main piece of kind of news over the weekend. It's been relatively quiet. So 2 weeks ago we had Gemini 3, we had Grok 4.1, we had ChatGPT 5.1 Codex Max, and then last Monday, a week ago, we had Opus 4.5 from Anthropic. So we've had a packed schedule. Then we had Thanksgiving, which was, I think, last Thursday, so it kind of quieted down. And we still haven't seen it pick back up again. I think we're going to be seeing 12 Days of Christmas, 12 Days of Shipmas coming up soon, plus a few more releases before the end of the year, but it's relatively quiet. So what I want to do, actually, is talk about an argument that I've seen, which has been really kicking off over on Twitter, about what exactly AI is. So there was a post about the ability to detect breast cancer using AI, and it upset a lot of people because they were saying, no, that's not artificial intelligence, that is machine learning, and we're using machine learning algorithms to detect patterns in order to detect potential cancer growths. In this case, it was breast cancer. And the original post was one of these clickbaity kind of like, oh, this AI detects breast cancer 5 years before humans or anyone else knew. So the post itself was clickbaity, and it was kind of high level, and it was a bit hypey. It's actually been removed, I've noticed. But what was more interesting was not the post, but the response. A lot of people jumped in saying, well, this is not AI. This doesn't count. This is machine learning. This is not artificial intelligence. To which a lot of AI people came back and said, well, hang on, machine learning is a part of artificial intelligence. It's just one of the mechanisms that we use. We use machine learning algorithms, and we've built that up, and that to what we now have. Things like generative AI today. Generative AI, things like ChatGPT, are just one form of artificial intelligence, and they use methods from machine learning. But there's been this kind of argument now between people who are obviously bright people on both sides who are not seeing eye to eye because of definitions. So this has got 2.5 million views. I'm sorry, but any description of specialized medical machine learning algorithms as AI is just doing PR for OpenAI and other slop generator companies. You're dragging down public trust in useful machine learning while giving ChatGPT a veneer of unearned respectability. What's happening here is people are kind of bifurcating ChatGPT, generative AI, AI slop, from uses of artificial intelligence they think are useful. And I see this a lot when we're covering the news. When I do a video about, hey, we just used AI for protein folding, or we've made a medical breakthrough, or there's a new Alzheimer's drug which has been helped by research using AI, everyone in the comments will jump in and be like, yeah, this is a good use of it. This is what it should be used for. Or they'll say, well, this isn't actually AI. So people like to put AI, which they think of as ChatGPT, basically, in its own bucket of bad things. And anything good that happens outside of that bucket, they need to then justify by saying, well, that's not actually artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence is bad, and it's done something good. So this is actually something else. This is machine learning, or this is deep learning, or this is whatever, as something else to help them keep those mental barriers between AI bad, wait, hang on, it's doing something good at the same time. So you have to go through a lot of mental gymnastics in order to continuously say that everything that artificial intelligence does is bad. And interestingly, so Jeremy Howard, who's an AI researcher, he put a photo of himself up. This is from, God, it must have been years ago, 2016. So 9 years ago. Jeremy Howard, the founder and CEO of Enlytic, believes artificial intelligence can transform healthcare. And it's got a picture of him in front of a radiology scan. So he says, this is utter nonsense. I created the first company to focus on deep learning in radiology, the exact area discussed below. It is and always has been part of the field of AI. Now that AI is popular, Everyone thinks they're an expert and feels they must have strong opinions. So this is the key thing. It is and always has been part of the field of AI. And I want to pull up this chart, which is incredibly useful and a lot of people forget. So AI is a field of study. It's pretty broad. It's an academic field of study. So AI is mimicking the intelligence or behavior patterns of humans or any other living entity. And that's a fairly broad kind of Catholic description, especially because we haven't really got good definitions of what intelligence is. We have lots of different definitions, but nobody's really kind of nailed that down. And it's something we can argue about until the cows come home. Within artificial intelligence, we have other fields like machine learning, which is a technique. So a technique by which a computer can learn from data without using a complex set of different rules. This approach is mainly based on training a model from data sets. So this isn't the only thing that sits within artificial intelligence. Some early forms of AI, back in the 50s and 60s, we tried to specifically give the AIs all of the rules that they needed. So we have things like Psych, for example, CYC, which was trying to make explicit all of the implicit rules about life. So for example, I have a container right here, which I've got the lid off. We would need to write a rule for Psych saying, hey, when you have a container of water sitting on your desk while you're giving a live stream, make sure you put a lid on it so you don't spill it. You'd have to explicitly put that in. You'd have to write it in as a rule, whereas most humans just kind of know that implicitly. That's a dumb thing to do. This is empty, by the way. I am not that dumb. I do have a coffee, though. So machine learning is a technique within artificial intelligence. And then within machine learning, we have a further subset called deep learning. So deep learning is a technique to perform machine learning inspired by our brain's own network of neurons. So AI has been around as an idea, gosh, for millennia, but since the birth of computing, basically. So Turing came up with the idea for computer, and actually Lovelace probably before, but let's say Turing for now. Alan Turing wrote down, hey, we need this kind of calculation machine. And then as soon as it was kind of theoretically posited, like almost immediately afterwards, he was like, these things get really smart. If we allowed them to do enough calculations, I wonder if they could, mimic human intelligence at some point. So the idea has been around for a very long time. The term itself was coined in, I think, 54 or 56 at the Dartmouth conference. I forget the date exactly, but back in the 50s. And then since then, there have been various different fields. There have been dead ends. There have been technologies that are still with us today. And it's been developing for decades. It is not new. ChatGPT did not just come like de novo from nowhere and take over the world. There's a reason that it suddenly became such a big deal. And people ask, like, why now? A couple of reasons. We have enough data. Basically, the internet can be seen as putting together a massive training data set for artificial intelligence. And over the last few decades, we have been getting all of our information and getting it in one place. Very useful for AI. Two, the processing ability. So we had neural networks. We had ideas for this technology a long time ago, perceptrons, things like that. But we didn't have the processing power to make real the theoretical ideas. We do now. We have technologies like GPUs that NVIDIA make. We have TPUs from Google, which can process the absolutely gigantic amount of mathematical calculations required to get these things done. So we have enough data and we had enough power at the same time. And then we had breakthroughs in the actual architecture. So things like transformers, for example. So this chart is very, very useful, and I have to pull it out every time we get into this debate, because people say artificial, that's not artificial intelligence. We've had artificial intelligence for decades. Every time you have purchased something on Amazon over the last couple of decades, that's been using AI. It's been using machine learning to serve up what it is you should be buying. Every time you choose something on Netflix, that is using artificial intelligence. When you play a video game, the artificial intelligence of the whoever you're fighting, that is also AI. It's just different forms. Generative AI is a subset that we are using today. So people are, I always mix this up. Is it synecdoche or what's the other one? People are confusing a part for the whole, which is incorrect. So that's what's happening here. Is this guy is saying, hey, this use of the finding cancer growths is a good use. I don't want that to be AI because AI is bad. It's slop generation. It is ChatGPT. It's gross. It's disgusting. So I'm going to say that this is machine learning. But that misses the point that machine learning is artificial intelligence. So there's a lot of mislabeling going on. And I'm glad someone like Jeremy Howard stepped in and said, hey, come on, I ran a radiology imaging company based on AI. We did some good work. This is AI. So basically, shush. And Jeremy Howard knows what he's talking about. I'm going to hop over to some questions and I'm going to look at different types of AI because there are further complications. The tweet making the case that only ChatGPT can use the term AI, that would only make it worse. Yeah. So unfortunately, for a lot of people, ChatGPT has become synonymous with AI. That's incorrect. It is a form of AI. It's a form of generative AI specifically. It's built on deep learning, machine learning, etc. But it's become synonymous in the same way that Google is synonymous with search. We don't say, oh, use a search engine to find that information. We say, Google it. So ChatGPT very quickly took that position and it became synonymous. That's not correct. There are many other AIs out there. There are many other forms of AI. There are other kind of methods that we use. But in terms of the public perception, ChatGPT equals artificial intelligence. That's unfortunately a shorthand that we are stuck with now. Hopefully, over time, as people start to kind of learn more about this technology, they'll realize that, oh yeah, ChatGPT is a form of AI. It's a type of AI. But there are many others out there. This is not the only thing. So they're not perfectly overlapping Venn diagrams. However, we still basically use Google as a shorthand for search. So I think we will continue to use ChatGPT as a shorthand for artificial intelligence. It's very interesting when I make content and I do keyword research to find out what content I should do. People don't ask questions like, how do I use AI? Or how do I use AI for accounting? They don't ask that. The search volume for that kind of query is very, very low. What they ask is, how do I use ChatGPT? How do I use ChatGPT to make a wedding invite? How do I use ChatGPT to do accounting? How do I use ChatGPT to come up with a birthday party theme for my child? So AI is replaced by ChatGPT in the popular perception. Yep, ChatGPT equals AI. X is saying exactly. That's for most people out there. That is the case. Anyone who's watching this stream now or watching this on YouTube later, you know better. But that's because you're paying attention to this kind of stuff. 99% of people out there don't know the difference. And we can't really expect them to. So I want to talk about a further complication, and you'll probably get this as well, where you'll be talking about AI and people will say, okay, talking about ChatGPT, for example, and they'll say, well, no, ChatGPT is not actually AI. And you say, well, what do you mean? And they'll say it's not really AI. It's and they'll come up with something else that it is. It's an advanced autocorrect, which is true. It is. It's a token tumbler, but it is still artificial intelligence. When you hit this argument with people saying, oh, that's not actually AI, what they mean here is it's not AGI. It's not artificial general intelligence. So there are three definitions, two categorizations. So we use the term strong AI and weak AI. And we also use the terms artificial narrow intelligence, artificial general intelligence, and artificial super intelligence. Broadly, artificial narrow intelligence is weak AI, and artificial general intelligence and artificial super intelligence is strong AI. So when you bump into somebody and they're like, oh, ChatGPT is not actually AI, what they mean is it's not strong AI. It is not artificial general intelligence. That is valid, but they're using the terminology wrong, because AI encompasses all of these things. Again, AI is the kind of bucket term. It's the term, the name of the field of study. It's it's a much larger goal that we're aiming at, but there are many different kind of facets within that. So you will bump into these people who say ChatGPT is not AI. What they mean is it's not strong AI. So very briefly, let's run through them. There's artificial narrow intelligence, executing a specific task within a focused area without the ability to self-expand functionality. So all of our AIs right now are artificial narrow intelligences. They're very good at doing certain tasks, but they cannot perform all tasks that a human could at a human capability. They're getting there, but they cannot do it right now. So ChatGPT is an ANI. It has quite a broad set of tasks that it can perform, but it does that mainly through tool usage. It sets up an agent, and an agent will use the tool to go and do stuff. So if you say, hey, I want you to gather some information, do some research, go and search the internet, go and fetch these things. It has the ability to use modules, to use tools, and to call on tools within its within that are outside of the large language model to pull information in. So it's still an artificial narrow intelligence, but by giving it more and more tools that it can use to interact with the world, we are expanding its ability to act pretty much in any way that we need it to. However, it still can't drive a car. It still can't play chess. So it is still very much constrained to certain types of tasks. And one argument you hear a lot is like, well, ChatGPT is great, but it can't do my laundry or it can't do my housework, which is true because it does not yet have a robotic physical presence. Might do one day. One thing that is not smart is betting against AI because we're seeing how quickly it is progressing. And every time somebody says, oh, it can't do this, it can't do that, generally a year or so later, we see it doing exactly that. So ANI tend to be very narrow. So self-driving cars are still an artificial narrow intelligence because they can't do mathematics problems, but they're very good at driving a car. They can't put together a social media post for you, but they can navigate a roundabout. So again, that's narrow. AGI, which is what we are as a species working towards. Some people are scared of it, some people are excited about it. I think the sensible thing to be is to have an amount of trepidation. So AGI is approaching human level capacity, performing broad tasks, reasoning and improving its capabilities. So being able to basically do anything that we do as a human. Doesn't necessarily have to do it better than us. In the same way that most humans can't do everything just as well as any other human. You might be really good at chemistry. Doesn't mean that you are good at writing a social media post. And it doesn't mean that you are good at writing a novel, for example. There are different human skills, and AGI will be able to do them all. So if we can reach that kind of level, this is where there are the real threats to jobs. This is also where whoever reaches this first has an immense competitive advantage globally. So a lot of the big companies and the billionaires are just trying to sprint to AGI. Sod everyone else. As long as we get AGI first, we're in a good position. So this is the end game for a lot of them, because having a computer which is basically the same capacity as a human being and being able to replicate that, being able to deploy 1 million of these means you suddenly have 1 million workers working for you for basically free, which means you can theoretically own and control the economy. So getting to AGI is very important. There's also the strategic element. Will China get there or will America get there? And depending on who gets there first, we're going to have a different world. With China, it will be government controlled. With America, it will be in the hands of someone like Elon Musk or Sam Altman, or maybe Google, potentially. So it would be in a corporation rather than government controlled. So that's where we're heading towards. So this is strong artificial intelligence. The next level is a lot more theoretical, is artificial superintelligence. This is pushing into the realms of sci-fi, but you can understand the logic behind it. So it outperforms human intelligence in practically every field. A good definition I've seen is artificial superintelligence is the combined intelligence of every human on Earth, but superior to that. So at that point, we cannot really understand, we can't really grok that type of intelligence. It's like a chicken looking up to a human being and not understanding its intentions. And at that point, it's like, well, is this human as a chicken? Is this human is my friend? Are they going to look after me? Am I a pet chicken, or am I the other type of chicken? We don't necessarily know what that's going to fold out like. The big concern, and you see this from I think Geoffrey Hinton in particular, is once we get to AGI, we'll probably get to ASI very quickly, because the AGI can work out the next steps for us, because suddenly we have potentially millions of human minds all working on the problem of working out the ASI. So from artificial narrow intelligence to AGI, we've been doing this for decades. From AGI to ASI might happen very, very quickly. It could be weeks, it could be months, and then we have an artificial superintelligence. So this is the big fear about AGI, is that, okay, well, what happens next? I saw it put really well in a book that I'm reading right now, which the question is, what if we're right? What if all these people who are rushing ahead with this technology, excited about creating this human equivalent intelligence, or creating this greater than human level intelligence, what if we are correct? And it is possible, and we do it in the next couple of years. I don't think enough people have really asked that. They're too busy trying to see if they can do it rather than thinking about whether they should do it. So that's where we are right now. But all of this is to say, when somebody comes to you and they're like, well, ChatGPT isn't actually AI, and they think they're being really smart because they've learned about machine learning and how the model works a little bit, what they mean is it's not AGI. They mean it's an ANI, artificial narrow intelligence. So they are incorrect, but they are intelligently incorrect. I think that's fair to say. Keith. People in my circle seem to think it's using all the water and it's cheating to use it. Okay, the water thing is fascinating. The water thing is a red herring. It does use power though. The water thing is a bizarre. I don't know where it came from, but it doesn't use a huge amount of water. It does use power, and this is going to be the big issue moving forward. And this is also why AI companies are investing into nuclear power stations and revitalizing old decommissioned power stations and building their own power stations. It's why Google are talking about launching a satellite into space covered in solar panels with a training cluster in the middle. This is all about power. So the race right now is how many GPUs can you get? How big a data center can you get? The race will become how much power do you have in order to actually work those GPUs. That's what China's doing. So China are investing heavily into renewables in particular in order to get ahead in this race. And their amount of energy production is, let me pull up a chart and see if we can find one, is absolutely phenomenal. Here we go. Electricity generation. This is a good picture. Because they've realized that this is going to be one based on electricity and how much power you can provide. So this is 1999 to 2022. Very, very different charts, as you can see. The US chart is broadly flat at around 4,000 terawatt hours. The Chinese chart is, well, you can see for yourself, it is pretty much straight up. So they're at, 9,000 terawatt hours and rising. And this is 2022. I'm sure they're much higher by now. And this is also a lot of renewables. So deciding, okay, we're doing solar power and just coating a desert in solar panels and wind turbines. So they are not messing around when it comes to energy. So energy is a big issue. Water is not, but energy is. At the moment, though, data centers around the world use around, this is all data centers, about 3% of the world's electricity. That is going up because of AI, and half of that usage is AI. So it used to be 1.5%, it's now gone up to about 3%, roughly. It depends how you measure it, blah, 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 but roughly 3%. So that's a huge jump from 1.5% of the world's electricity to 3% of the world's electricity in the last couple of years. It is still 3%, so arguably that's not that high compared to in industrial, commercial, residential usages. 97% of the electricity and power is used elsewhere. So it's still relatively small, but it is growing. So we do need to pay attention. So Simon Willison did a little test here. This isn't particularly mathematically robust, but it is enough because of the orders of magnitude here. So out of curiosity, I decided to try and run the numbers on how much Netflix you can watch and the energy output of a ChatGPT prompt. As far as I can tell, it's between 5 and 10 seconds. So watching Netflix for 10 seconds is the equivalent to one ChatGPT prompt. So let's say you watch an hour-long show. What are we doing? That's 60 seconds times 60 minutes. What's that? Oh, 360. Yeah. No. Yes. Wait. My maths just failed me. Oh no, it's 10 seconds. So every 10 seconds is one prompt. So I can't do maths while I'm on stream. Here we go. 60 times 60 is 360. So 360 divided by 10. So it's 360. Yeah, of course it is. 360 prompts for 1 hour, which I don't know about you, but that's a lot of prompting. I don't think I could prompt that fast. So in June 2025, Sam Altman claimed that ChatGPT, the average query is about 0.34 watt hours. In March 2020, George Kamir of the International Energy Agency, they've put out a good report about this stuff, about data center usage, estimated that streaming a Netflix video in 2019 typically consumed between 0.12 and 0.24 kilowatt hours of electricity per hour. So, yeah, one prompt in ChatGPT is roughly 5 seconds of Netflix, roughly. Or, if you're being conservative, it's 10 seconds. Either way, it's not very high compared to everyone else's energy usages. So whenever somebody says, oh, well, ChatGPT uses a lot of electricity, you have to say, yeah, it does. So does using Netflix. So does watching TikTok on your telephone. So does lighting your house. So does absolutely everything we do. It uses much, much more energy. So people need to take the context of the energy use in context if they're going to make a good faith argument. What you tend to see is people make arguments about electricity and they make arguments about water against artificial intelligence, but then as soon as you show them the data on how much water meat production uses, for example, if they eat meat, or how much electricity them swiping through TikTok or them watching Netflix for a couple of hours every night, then they shut up very quickly. Or they'll say, that's different because ChatGPT is unethical because it uses copywritten work or whatever. They'll find another angle of attack. But they need to put the energy usage and the water usage in the context of their everyday usage, and it is absolutely dwarfed. So people will find arguments about AI. Electricity is a problem, which is why the companies are trying to make more of it. Water is less of a problem. The interesting thing about electricity, though, is so all of these companies pushing it forward in a weird way, they may actually fix climate. I know this sounds mad, and this is a big claim, but all of these companies, the top companies on Earth right now, Nvidia, OpenAI, I guess Grok and Twitter, Google, Apple, all of these absolutely gigantic companies, they need to drive down the price of energy because energy is going to be what allows them to succeed moving forward. What this means is, in terms of training and inference for large language models and AI in general, they want to make their algorithms as efficient as possible. If their algorithm is too lossy, if it is too wasteful, it costs them more to run. Every time I go to Claude and I run Opus 4.5, that is costing Anthropic a certain amount of money. They want to reduce that as much as possible. So they will make their systems as efficient as possible because that is their margin. Their margin is the energy cost. So they need to drive that down as much as possible. At the same time, they're investing into sustainables and nuclear power in order to increase the amount of energy that is available. So in a weird way, for decades we've been like telling corporations, oh, you need to sort your act out and you need to stop polluting and you need to you need to stop using so much energy. In a weird way, what we've now done is we've aligned energy production, clean energy production, with their profit incentive. If they can work out how to get cheap energy abundantly without much waste, then they can win and their profit goes up and their shareholders are happy. So we don't need to rely on the goodness of their hearts. We don't need to rely on them being, trying to save the earth or being bleeding heart liberals or anything like that. We do not need that anymore, because we just need them to be more efficient. Well, they need to be more efficient in order to make more money. So we've aligned the profit incentive with being with the environmental incentive. Right now, it doesn't look like that because it's messy and everybody's just scaling as quickly as possible. But as soon as they start to hit that wall with energy, and the smart ones have already seen this, which is why they're investing into nuclear power, and China is investing massively into sustainables, then it's a force function on being more environmentally friendly. Not for good reasons, but for cynical reasons and profit-based reasons. But in a weird way, they might actually pull us out of the death spiral of climate change. I know that sounds bizarre, especially as the energy centers are using a lot of energy, creating a lot of waste as well. But I think moving forward over the next 5-10 years, we're going to see that start to shift, where they have to be more green and they have to generate more energy. So never rely on the goodness of people's hearts, but do rely on a profit. And as long as that's aligned, we might be okay. Claude says it's not sustainable. We're going to hit a wall soon. The grid we have won't support the AI needs and development. Yeah, this is why China might win. So I don't know if you were here before, but I showed you the Chinese electricity generation graph. This is what China is laying down the foundations for, because several years ago, Xi Jinping said, AI is a strategic national concern. This was about 4 years ago. Trump did it at the beginning, July this year, so a couple of months ago, finally said, we need to pay attention to this, and he released the AI action plan. But Xi Jinping did this years and years ago, and part of this was also, hey, we need to get our energy, we need to get our energy in line. We need to not be reliant on other people for electricity, and we need the foundations and the infrastructure to be able to grow our technology sector and artificial intelligence. So for the last 20 years or so, they have just been investing into their infrastructure. So when we say the grid we have won't support the AI need and development, that's the American grid. That's the European grid. This is not an issue in China. They are getting ready. It's the AI guy live. Thank you, Paolo. I am the AI guy. I'm not sure if I mentioned, but I was getting a haircut. Not recently. I need another one. But I was getting a haircut a couple of months ago, and I was sitting in the chair, and the guy came up behind me. He's like, "Oh, I know you." This is another customer. He's like, "I know you. You're from TikTok. You're the AI guy." And then he left the hairdresser, and my hairdresser was like, "What the hell?" And everyone started asking me about like what that was. Bizarre. So yeah, the AI guy. Oh, you're having a discussion about, yeah, it's making people stupid. X says, I believe it does if you use incorrectly. The same way using your phone too much incorrectly can do that. Yep. And Ayub saying, hi, good morning, Ayub. There's several studies proving that over-reliance does it. I don't believe in that narrative, says Claude. So personally, I think that much like any tool, we can use this in different ways. So you can use AI if you are self-driven, if you are a self-directed learner. AI is fabulous. So when I don't know something, I can go to Claude and I can ask about it. I can say, hey, I don't really get this. I don't understand it. Can you teach me? Hell, you can put ChatGPT into study mode or learn mode or whatever it's called, and it will kind of prod you for answers, and it will help you develop your understanding. You can use Notebook LM to draw up presentations for yourself, and podcasts and study notes and quizzes, etc. So if used correctly, AI is incredibly valuable as a learning tool. There's a book by Salman Khan called Brave New Words, which is all about the promise of basically being able to give every child on earth a one-to-one tutor using artificial intelligence, which has not been possible because it's too expensive. Only the rich kids could have that up until now. So the promise is there. However, this requires using AI in that way. And for people probably like yourself, Claude, if you are self-directed and you are in kind of control of your own, well, yourself and how much and learning, and you read and you study and you're interested in the world, you're curious, then AI is fantastic. Most people are not, though. Most people need to be dragged kicking and screaming through school and university and trainings because they don't particularly want to learn. They did their learning, in school. Why are you making me learn anymore? I know people who haven't read a book since university. I don't tend to hang out with them, but some people just don't read. And that is a lot of people. A lot of people would prefer just to watch Netflix or scroll on social media. And AI, unfortunately, gives them another output to be lazy. So yeah, if you're self-directed, you can use AI to do absolutely wonderful things, to tutor yourself and to expand your horizons and to build things you've never built before. I've been coding things I would never be able to do a year ago. Or you can use AI to do thinking for you. So you have an essay to write. I'll just get ChatGPT to put together the draft, and that quickly changes to, okay, well, it can flesh out some paragraphs for me, and then suddenly you're writing an essay using artificial intelligence. Whenever I work in cafes a lot, and I'm often near universities, and I'll see students, and they'll have a PDF on one side of their laptop, which is their reading or whatever, and then the other side of their laptop will be ChatGPT. Like, everybody is using it. There was a photo recently of some guy in, I think it was Harvard, in the library, and he took a photo of all the laptop screens. Like, you could see, I don't know, 50 kids, and they were all on ChatGPT. So they could be using it to reinforce their learning. They could be using it to make life easy. And if I was 18 and at university and wanted to go out and have fun and go drinking and party, I would be using it to cheat. I would be using it to not think and to do the work for me. There is also the question, and this is a very valid question. If you are a student right now and you suddenly have access to these tools, it's a very valid question to be asking, well, why do I need to learn this stuff when the AI can do it all? Because I know I'm going to get into the workforce and just use AI. So what is the point about me going through this process? I think there is a point. The process of having to manually put together essays, manually put together arguments, projects, etc. It's the process that makes you good at critical thinking. It makes you good at synthesizing and analyzing information. But while you're in it, you might just be thinking, well, what's the point? I can just use AI. I'm just going to be using AI all of my life. So whether or not AI makes you lazy, whether or not it stops you from learning, I think depends on what kind of person you are already. And it is a magnifying function. If you are somebody who is self-directed, fantastic. You're going to do so well with artificial intelligence. If you are somebody who's lazy and always looking for the shortcut, it is the ultimate shortcut. So it depends so much. And then it becomes a question of what is the balance of society? Like, how many people are self-directed? How many people just want an easy life? And I feel and I fear it leans more towards the latter. And AI will help a lot of them not think, not do any work, which is a massive problem. It really is, and something we need to deal with. Funny, we just know you as the nice haircut guy. Not at all. My hair. At least I have some, but it is a mess. But it's still here, more or less. It's starting to go back. Oh no, look at that. God, that's the problem with seeing yourself on camera all the time. Like, it's like, oh God, look, oh my, because I've always got these bags under my eyes and I can see my hair. And when I look back on videos a year ago or 2 years ago, it's like, wow, God, he looks young. Yeah, don't look at old photos. I remember when you and I had a conversation on TikTok about creating a mastermind group. Did you ever? No, I haven't put together anything like that. Knowledge is a passion. See, yeah, for you, Claude, if knowledge is a passion for you, then AI is fantastic. You'll be able to. You don't need me to tell you this. You can learn so much, and you can use it to kind of accelerate yourself. For people who don't think knowledge is a passion, though, AI is a way to become lazy, unfortunately. What devices and tools do you use to stream both here and YouTube? So, great question. I am using, finally, as of 3 weeks ago or so, TikTok released TikTok Studio, Live Studio for Mac. So previously it was PC only, and there were workarounds. You could use Parallels or I've forgotten the name of the other one, or Boot Camp or whatever it is, to get it working on a Mac, but it was choppy, and that's no good if you're trying to live stream. So they finally released it on Mac. So I'm running that for the TikTok stream. That is TikTok Live Studio. It basically looks like OBS, if you've ever used OBS. I think they just copied it. And then I'm using Ecamm, which is ECAMM, to go to Twitter and YouTube right now, and I'm recording it locally on my computer. Thankfully, I've got quite a powerful Mac Mini. I think it's, let me have a look what it is. 24, it's an M4 Pro processor and 24 gigabytes of memory. So thankfully it's beefy enough to be able to deal with the 4K streams and recording at the same time. And I've got good internet. If I didn't have good internet, this would be impossible. So that's how I'm doing it. I've got two going through Ecamm. Technically, I can add LinkedIn and Instagram, but they do not support 4K 60. And I'm using 4K 60 frames per second on YouTube and Twitter. What I can do, and I need to set this up, I'm just lazy, is I can also stream from Ecamm to like restream.io or God, what are the names of them? There's so many of them. They're kind of restreaming services, and that will send it to Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, I suppose, wherever. I think I can go to Twitch, although I don't think this is going to be very popular on Twitch. Although I was kind of thinking about doing playing Arc Raiders and kind of talking about artificial intelligence, which could be fun. Oh, and in terms of my camera, I have a Sony EV7 EV7 something or another, which is the DSLR here. And that's my main camera, and then the microphone is a Shure MV7B, I think, which is a good microphone. All of this setup is pretty complicated. I use ChatGPT to help me work out, because I got some quotes from someone for the wiring diagrams and helping me choose the equipment. And it's about £3,000, and I was like, I can probably work that out. And so far, so good. I'm an indie filmmaker. I use AI to do the parts I can't do, like the social media posts. Yeah, this is, I think, as a creative, Keith, I think this is the way to do it. So a lot of people, especially in the creative industry, would just say, oh, AI is evil, I'm not going to use it. What we can do, though, is we can use AI on the bits we don't want to do. So the admin, the reporting, social media posts, the kind of stuff that any business or any project needs to get done, which is not the actual work. So it's the same with most jobs and the same with most businesses. There are lots of bits and pieces that are not, they don't really add much value to the business, but they have to get done. So for me, it's like bookkeeping. I need to do bookkeeping. I think I've got, if my business partner's watching this, I'm sure he'll jump into chat and say, you need to do your bloody bookkeeping. Things like that. Bookkeeping, taxes, administrative stuff, which kind of gets in the way of the real work, but it has to be done because that is the business. So AI is really good at taking the load off with those kind of tasks, so that you can spend more time doing the creative work. So if you're a filmmaker, you get to spend more time writing and filming and editing. You get to do that good stuff instead of the faffing around stuff. So this is what I think about AI generally, is we should be using it to offload the things we don't want to do, the things that the parts of our job that we hate, basically offload them to AI so that you have more time to do the truly human parts, the parts that require creativity, the parts that require meeting people, public speaking, networking, writing, etc. You pour your human energy into that and use AI to get rid of the drudgery. So I think that's the best way to kind of harness and utilize AI. But unfortunately, a lot of people will just throw the baby out with the bathwater, and they just won't touch AI for any aspect of their life, which I think is short-sighted, personally. StreamYard, thank you. That's the other one. There's StreamYard, Restream, Riverside does it as well, I think, restreaming. Okay. I think that is. I was going to talk about Epic Games a bit, but I don't think I will. Basically saying that AI is in everything, and labeling things as non-AI or using AI doesn't make any sense, which I agree with. Oh, yeah. Before I go, The Thinking Game, which is a documentary about Google Mind, DeepMind, sorry, is available on YouTube. So, oh, there we go. It's right there, the whole movie. So a few years ago, there was a movie called AlphaGo, which was about Google DeepMind building something called AlphaGo, and then AlphaZero and some other models, which beat Lee Sedol in the game of Go. So we've had chess playing computers for, gosh, decades. I guess the 80s was when Kasparov was beaten by Deep Blue. And the next problem became, well, the computers will never be able to beat a human being in Go. Go is too complex. You cannot just brute force calculate all of the moves, because there's like a trillion different move combinations because of the size of the board and the ability to place your counter anywhere on the board. So that became the new impossible task. So initially it was like, oh, computers will never beat anyone in chess. Like, they'll never beat a human. And then Deep Blue beat a grandmaster, Garry Kasparov, and now computers can handily beat any human on Earth. Not even like not very powerful versions. So Go became the new challenge, and AlphaGo is a documentary all about building this machine, AlphaGo, this tool, and then taking it up against the world champion of Go. And spoiler alert, but it was a few years ago, beating him. This 2016, I think it might have been. And it's bittersweet because there's a triumph of the team, which is really exciting to watch. But then very quickly, the team, which includes Demis Hassabis and others, you can kind of see that melancholy on their face, like, oh God, we just took this from humans. So it's fascinating because of that that balance of that triumph and, oh God, what have we done? So it's very interesting. They have a new film, same documentary filmmakers, but it's more broadly about DeepMind, and it follows Demis Hassabis and talks about their mission. So it's available totally free. So in celebration of the 5th anniversary of AlphaFold, we're bringing the Thinking Game to the Google DeepMind YouTube channel for free starting November 25th. Filmed over 5 years by the award-winning team behind AlphaGo, the new film takes viewers into the heart of our AI lab, Google DeepMind, as the team strives to unravel the mysteries of AGI, artificial general intelligence, as we were talking about earlier on in the live. The feature-length documentary follows Google DeepMind founder Demis Hassabis and his team during pivotal moments, including the moment the AlphaFold team found out they'd solved a 50-year-old grand challenge in biology. This is another example of something that is then called not AI, because it managed to make a massive breakthrough, a breakthrough that went on to be awarded a Nobel Prize. So Demis Hassabis got the Nobel for this. So this is available on YouTube, and it's totally free. So I highly recommend it. Okay, I'm going to finish up the live stream. As always, make sure that you are subscribed to the newsletter, which I forgot to write yesterday, so today's is not out. I just totally blanked out. The newsletter has all of the updates that we covered in the live, just kind of tidied up, and with all the links, you can follow back and read the actual reports, you can read the articles, etc., and that's totally free. So you can get that on aiwithkyle.com. Also on that site, a whole bunch of different tools that you can use, like an AI business quiz. What AI business should you start? Runs you through different businesses, business ideas, asks about your background, your skills, etc., and then comes out with an analysis of what the best thing to start is. And there's about 100 different mini courses. I say mini courses, they're all about 10 to 15,000 words. There's a huge amount of free stuff on the website, so go and check it out, please. That would be awesome. And YouTube, big news. I've been trying to hit 10,000 subscribers for the last few months. We got there. yesterday. So 10,036 subscribers. So thank you so much to all the people who have subscribed. I didn't realize, but YouTube just gave me some fireworks, which is very, very cute. So 10,000. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, I don't get any kind of YouTube button. You only get the silver button at 100,000. So got some more work. Got some more work to do. But I will celebrate this. I also hit 10,000 followers on Instagram over the weekend as well, or last week. So thank you for that so much. If you're not subscribed on YouTube, please do, because there's some good stuff on there. Thank you so much, everybody, and thank you, Aurora and Claude. I need to properly celebrate it. But yeah, make sure you're subscribed if you're not, because now we need to get to 100,000. One step at a time. Thank you, and I will see you tomorrow for more AI news and updates. Cheers.